Hey, what's going on? I wanted to do this video to show you my medium ticket automated sales funnel. Now, I wanted to prefix this by saying I'm not some online marketing guru or some bajillionaire businessman. So if you want that stuff, go check out Alex Hormozy or Dan Martell or some of these other online gurus. I have a background in software engineering. I've been creating software engineering content for like 10, 15 years, basically like my entire adult life at this point. And if I implemented this funnel from the beginning, I would be in a much better financial state. We're going to focus on the system, the infrastructure of the funnel. Basically, you will just substitute in a couple of things for your business and it will work the same. You don't have to buy some fancy ads course or, master organic social media. The amount of attention you need for this to work is actually quite small, which is why I say if I did this from the beginning of my software YouTube channel, I would have a lot of money because I've implemented this in the last 2 years, last year, especially optimizing this and adding to it. Basically, I have done a lot more in the last year than I've done in the entire history of the business. So basically, I didn't treat the YouTube channel as a business in a way to generate cash from the beginning. I was just posting YouTube videos because, that was the thing to do. Basically, I was just collecting as many views as possible. So I'll probably do a dedicated video showing you my actual channel and the funnels, the content in the funnels. This video is going to examine the infrastructure of the funnel and some core principles that I believe make the funnel work. So let's start at the beginning. Basically, you get attention on social media. So that could be Facebook, YouTube, ads, organic, doesn't matter the platform or whether it's paid or organic. Don't worry about that. It's attention. Our job with a funnel is to translate attention into dollars. So that's where we send this attention into some automated flow, and ultimately we want to get them to buy something. The problem with so many other systems and funnels out there is that the entire process introduces friction. Whereas my goal is to reduce friction as much as possible. And I want to make it clear that friction is different than effort. So friction is bad. It's basically making it difficult for somebody to give you money. Effort, on the other hand, is when the prospect does some work, and this actually causes them to be more invested in your solutions and products, trust you more, and overall become a better customer in the long run. So I do want the people I'm working with to go through some effort, and I'll show you exactly what that means, but I do not want them to hit friction. So I will call out the main things in this funnel that reduce friction and the main things that increase effort so that we have a lead that is ready to buy. That is the goal. And what exactly are they ready to buy? I would say a medium ticket course or program of some sort, somewhere in the price range of maybe $300 to $3K. Those don't have to be exact, but that's the general price range I would recommend. As you get into this higher number, you're gonna have to build a lot more trust, and it's going to become more difficult to make this sale in an automated way. Still possible, but I've found the best experience being like $500, anywhere up to like $1,000 or up to $2,000 even. For a medium ticket item, usually there's just a few little things they might need help with, and ultimately they can make that purchase on a web page. They do not need a call. Do not force a call because that's going to add friction. If they want to call, yeah, go for it. Personally, I hate talking on calls if I don't need them. So I'm going to go for the web page, and then I'm going to talk about how I solve any specific problems for any leads that might have some questions or some concerns before making a purchase. Now you can adjust this if you are doing a high ticket program, let's just say 3K plus, then instead of going for the sale directly here, you would just replace this with booking a call. Now notice in this situation, booking a call is the goal of the funnel. We want to go from people seeing us on social media, getting them through an automated flow to book a call. They had to go through some effort to get from here down to booking a call. So we basically increase the effort And that will basically create better leads that are more ready to buy. We just make this a smooth process, but we use automation and clear targeting to eliminate anybody who would not be a good prospect for what we are pitching. So hopefully that makes sense. And the difference here between friction and effort is clear. Friction would be something like, oh, you can't book a call unless you fill out this really thorough application. That thorough application is probably going to push away some genuine prospects. So instead, you could replace that with having them go through a free lead magnet, a free course, or something of that nature. In that, you can talk about your product, what is expected of somebody who goes through that product. You could even talk about what the price points are. You're going to basically weed out anybody who's not an ideal client. So you're basically reducing the friction with them having to go through some effort to make a purchase or book a call. And it's just the right amount to get rid of anybody that's going to waste your time or not be a good prospect, and just capture the people that will give you money and be a good client when they actually make the purchase and go through whatever your product is, whether it's a course or some kind of coaching program. So that's the overview. Don't want to overcomplicate it, so let's just simplify this real quick. I'll go from left to right here. So we get some eyeballs seeing us on social media. They get in our automation somehow. This automation will then filter and prepare any leads. So this is where you do any qualifying, making sure they are ready to make a purchase. And then from here, we just have them buy the product or sign up for a call. Okay, so this is basically the goal. So we understand we want to take attention and get that to a purchase or a sign up, having them go through a small number of emails, a free course, or whatever it may be, and get them ready before they make a purchase or sign up for a call. Keyword before, not after. If you do too much after, they could be a bad customer, demanding a lot from you, asking for a refund, or giving out negative word of mouth about your product because they were not a good customer to begin with. They probably shouldn't have bought the product. So don't try to sell to everybody. Use this flow to basically filter out anybody that is not a good candidate. This process is what I talk about when I say effort. It takes some effort to actually make the purchase or sign up for a call, but it's not like an ungodly amount of effort, just going through a couple of lessons or reading a couple of emails, basically enough that they know you and they're ready to take the next step. So that is the idea of requiring effort. And now let's talk about the flip side of that. How do we reduce friction in this process so this is as smooth as possible, we don't have any hiccups, and nothing is leaking out of the funnel? Okay, so let's draw like a funnel shape. And these are new leads. And again, I'm going to repeat myself here, but this is important. I don't care where the leads come from. The goal of the funnel is to do anything with those leads to either get them out of the funnel because they are not the ideal customer, or get them to purchase. So it doesn't matter where the leads come from. I am only focusing on this portion right here. So the very first thing we do is we give them a free lead magnet. Now, I would recommend free. The principle behind here is that you always want to have an exchange. So you can think of it that way, or you can think of it more greedily. You always want to get something from the lead, money or information. Those are basically the same thing, because if you have their contact information, you can ultimately get money out of them. So if you have an Instagram account, for example, if you don't have a link or anything to capture the information of the people that are viewing your profile, then they're just going to leave the profile and they're not going to get into the funnel. So I like to prompt them to sign up for a free lead magnet. You're offering them something. What many people don't realize, though, is that they're paying with their information. So that's the exchange. They're paying with their info. And this information gets added to a pool of a bunch of other prospects. And this is your list. Your lists are all your potential clients, people you will send stuff to, and you do not want to gatekeep this. If you have proper list hygiene, which we can get into another day, we can pretty much throw in anybody into this pool. And if they are someone who could potentially buy, they will stay on that list, they will benefit from what you have to say, and they may ultimately make a purchase. The larger the list, the better. Now, let's say somebody random gets in this list. Well, they're not going to be engaged with that stuff. Ultimately, they're going to become inactive, and then you just don't send to any inactive members, or you can purge them from your list entirely. Basically, this pool, we want to get people into this so we can send them information, and the people that resonate with what you're sending them will be nurtured and potentially buy something from you in the future. So you want to start growing an email list. You don't have to be like a writer writing some beautiful messages every week. You just give updates about what you're working on and announce any new products. It's very simple. So that's why I think this should be free. It's the easiest way to get in your funnel, and that lead will become valuable to build a larger audience that can then pay for things in the future. Some people recommend low ticket. Maybe you have something for $7 or $27 or $97, whatever it may be, something on the lower cost range. That can be beneficial to basically filter out anybody that's never going to buy. You're just getting really high quality leads, people who've made purchases from you, and that's all valid. But I would say that, at least in my case, this pool of prospects has been more valuable to me because I use this pool of prospects to push out new content to these people. So it actually helps basically give more power to my content, which helps me get even more people. And it's basically this snowball effect where we grow this list. The list helps us get more views on our content, which helps our content get shared with new people, which ultimately grows our list. So that's my opinion for free versus low ticket. I think a scenario where a low ticket item makes sense is if you're using it to run ads as a way to basically get back the ad cost. So all of your money that you get after that is just profit. But we can look into that another day. So I get the free lead magnet, for example, a 5-day intro course on some pain point. So let's just say you're a physical therapist or something, and you do a 5-day intro course on solving knee pain. Now, it doesn't have to be like physical pain. It could be any pain, how do you start developing websites? How do you use AI? How do you grow a gardening business? Whatever it might be. Basically, some pain that your ideal customer has. That's what the course is about, to convert them from attention to a prospect, someone who's in your pool of people. This thing should solve a problem, but build a gap. And it should be positioned so that the solution to filling this gap or getting over this other problem that you've introduced is to buy your product or work with you more closely. So maybe back to the example of a physical therapist, how to fix your knee pain, a 5-day intro course. But then it's like, how do you prevent issues like this and solve all of your physical therapy needs? If you don't solve the core problem, you're just going to have issues again in the future with something else. Well, for that, you can get my full body renewal program or whatever. The actual details don't matter. Basically, you solve the initial problem and you build a gap that they then need to pay money to you for to get solved. So you can do it that way, or you could basically do like a pay for the implementation approach. Here's the introduction. If you want help installing all of these things in your life, then you can sign up for my next course or sign up for a call for my coaching program. So we build the gap in the free lead magnet, and then this is paired with an automated sequence. So we will trigger some emails talking about the product we want them to buy, and we will tie this with real urgency through a timer that's tied to them. So we will have an evergreen timer. You can do it without a timer if you just want to get something started. It's definitely a little bit more complex to implement this. This is something I am working to make super easy inside of Course Catalyst. So if you are building a funnel, you can tie a deadline with that person's account, custom to that person when they signed up. So that would save you from having to go to some external products to implement this funnel. But long story short, we build the automated sequence with a countdown timer to make the purchase for the larger product. And then ultimately they're going to buy. It's that simple. Because you've introduced problems, you're reminding them of your offer every single day, and when that timer's coming to an end, they're going to purchase. Throughout all of this, you will want to infuse trust. So how do we build trust? This is very, very, very important. Trust me here. You just want to make sure that this is infused throughout everything. So with new leads, you want your profile to be trustworthy, show what you do, whatever it might be, anything to get them to sign up for that lead magnet. You can say how many clients you've helped or any other things with credibility, or you can have some featured content to help build trust to get them to sign up for the free lead magnet. The free lead magnet solves the initial problem, and that's very important. We want to solve the problem. If we don't, basically, from their perspective, is they signed up for this free thing, it didn't deliver, why would I want to do more with this person? I'm out. Instead, what we want to do is we want to solve a problem so they're like, wow, that was actually really helpful. I would love more. And that makes them more ready to make that purchase. Then, in this automated sequence, we continually build trust. Why did we design the program? How did I overcome problems in my own life that I teach the solution for in the program? What have other people experienced going through the program? How has it helped them? Here are some testimonials. Here is our refund policy. Here is everything to build trust. Basically, if you read this automated sequence, there's zero doubt that, for one, it's a real thing. It's not some scam. The person is credible. You know their background and you know they're going to be helpful whenever you make that purchase. You've seen other people see success and you can translate that to your own life, getting support as needed when you actually make that purchase. So one way to build trust is to offer some kind of community or support. Not necessarily required, but I would say recommended the higher you go in the price tag. So if you're getting, to $500 or $1,000, they want to know that if they make the purchase, they're going to get the result. Otherwise, they don't trust that they're going to get the result and they're not going to make the purchase. So you can basically say if you have any issues at all throughout the program, you can message me directly or you can get help in the community. Whatever structure it is for support, you basically want them to trust they will get the result. For digital products, I think refunds are smart because you might get 5% of everything refunded. So you're going to make a lot more if you promise that refund if they are not satisfied. And the majority of people are not going to actually refund because they're going to be happy with the result. They've built all this trust for you before the purchase, and that translates to after the purchase as well. They're going to be a better customer. So let me finish this thought here. Community or support, refunds, testimonials. You want to share all of this information so that it's a no-brainer to make that purchase. So that is the overview of the funnel. As for what does the actual email look like? How do you set up these sequences? And how do you do evergreen timers? We can talk about that in a dedicated lesson where I'll actually show you my funnels for my software engineering courses and how I implemented this entire system. And it's simple. It's not complicated. Complexity is bad. That's how you leak leads and you don't have any predictable systems that you can measure and improve. That's why I think for many businesses to get to 6 figures, you only need one funnel. You don't need all these complex lead magnets and complex ads and different funnels. Simplify everything and you're gonna have a much better experience. I push everybody through the same funnel now, but I extended it so I actually have an upsell portion. I'm not gonna talk about that in this lesson, but I have some good insight on how you can have successful upsells and how you can do cross promotion for different products or whatever it might be. Basically, this is the basis, but then you can do advanced stuff on top of this. You don't need to create new funnels and have a really complex system to get a lot of money from creating content online. I genuinely think most people could hit 6 figures with a funnel like this, with the majority of it being automated and without having, hundreds of thousands of followers or anything like that. It's about creating the right kind of content and converting those people into customers. That's where I went wrong when I started my YouTube channel. I was just creating whatever I wanted for anybody who wanted to watch, and I had no system for turning those eyeballs into customers. Now I think of YouTube as just a way to get a lot of eyeballs and then everything else is done on the back end. The last thing I wanted to talk about though is what about objection handling and any kind of issues people might have that's preventing them from making a purchase. Well, the way to solve this, I would say, depends on the price point. So let me just clear this off and we'll look at low ticket, medium ticket, and high ticket. So if we have a low ticket item, anything, let's just say 99 or less, I really don't want to be answering emails or doing anything custom for people. Basically, you can buy it or you cannot buy it. That's up to you. Instead of solving everybody's problem, I frame the problem and then I convince people that this is their problem. If they resonate with the content, then they will make a purchase and get through. Some people won't, and that's fine. I'm not going to try to solve everybody's problem. If it's a medium ticket, and this is where things can change a bit, most people just need some confirmation that it's a good idea. So this sounds crazy, but you would be surprised the number of times someone emails me and asks me if it's a good idea for them to purchase my course. Obviously, I'm going to be like, yeah, it's my course. I'm the person selling it, right? But I would never actually say yeah to somebody who shouldn't be buying the course. But every single time somebody emails me that, they are already my ideal customer. They're ready to make a purchase. They can be helped by what I'm providing in that course. They just want some external validation that it's a good idea. And their first idea is to ask me because they might have some specific things that they're unsure if it's going to disqualify them from getting the result. So for example, they might be older, am I too old to start learning to code? Or is this course going to work with me if I'm still a student? Or like whatever it might be, they just want to know that they fit into the ideal customer shape. And like I said, they always do because they've already gone through reading all my stuff and being convinced enough to send the question in. So I just say, yes, you're good to go. This is exactly what you need. People can ask me that stuff because of the trust I've built. There have been occasional scenarios where I basically say, hey, if you're doing this, then this product is not for you. And I basically push them away. And what this will do is often actually have them come back stronger, ready to make the purchase because they actually trust me more and they're like extra bought into the product. So when I was doing coaching, I don't want to go too off the rails here, but someone was like, hey, I'm considering software engineering, but I'm also considering getting my master's in like cybersecurity or something. And I was upfront. I was like, okay, let's pause. If you're going to go do that, I'm not going to support you here. This is not a good fit. So if you just want to like figure that out and then come back, that's what I would recommend. And by me saying like, we're not going to make the sale right now, he actually came back and was like, yeah, the way you described that is what made me make the decision to go forward. So let's do it. You're basically going to do that same thing, but you can 99% of the time do this through email or DMs and even an FAQ. So put in your FAQ some of the common questions people will ask about if it's for them. Do they have to have experience? How much time do they need to devote to it? And those things. And then you're basically going to give them a way to contact you if they have any questions. This is actually really important because you're not going to get overwhelmed with emails or DMs. Don't worry about it. And if you are getting overwhelmed with emails, that's a good problem because you're going to be making a lot of money. At this point, you're basically going to sell the product over email, just solving whatever problem they have. Usually it takes a couple of minutes. Then you'll get a couple $100 sale up to like a couple $1,000 sale. Now, another note on contacting you, the higher the cost, the more this can be valuable because people are scared to spend a bunch of money over the internet. They just want to make sure their questions are answered and that they are going to be able to get the results that are promised on the web page. So if they're reaching out, asking those questions, super easy to solve them. You can even like make like a list of the common questions that you get through emails and put them in your shortcut keys or whatever. But you're going to basically just solve those problems. And as you get to like 1,000 or 2,000 or higher, you will want to make sure that they can contact you very easily. But we do not want to introduce friction. I know I've said this 1,000 times, but I would avoid forced calls. It could be an option, but I don't even think you need this for like 2 or 3K. But if you say you have to get on a call for any questions, that's going to tell the prospect like, oh, I'm getting on the sales call. I got to like put my defenses up. And it's just like, not what people want all of the time. It's just adding friction. And you only really want to do that if you need to do serious objection handling. And that would go into like mindset stuff. And if you're doing like serious life change stuff, that should probably be a more expensive program, like 5 or 10,000, whatever it might be. That's why I did calls with my coaching program, because a lot of people would come in with issues that I needed like 30 minutes or an hour to work through with that person. But for the medium ticket, I just need to solve a couple of problems over email. So I do not do calls. I just think it's going to reduce the success of this idea. Plus, I just don't like doing calls. So if somebody's like, hey, could I call you real quick and ask you some questions about your course? I'm usually like, no, because most of my courses are a couple $100, with my highest right now being 2,000. For the 2,000, like I would consider it, but like mostly I just think of the courses as purely through email and DM, and that's the way I like to do things. So let me show you though, for my $2,000 product, how I actually provoke more contact so I can close those deals over email. This I call the Curry Upsell Framework. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have some fancy name for it. Basically, we just have the initial sequence. This is to buy a lower priced medium ticket, so $350. And then I put them in an upsell sequence. And pretty much anytime anybody makes a purchase, so whatever that purchase is, maybe it's $297 or $497, they get added to this sequence. And what I do in this upsell sequence is I say something like, I can give you a custom coupon if you've spent with me before. Basically, thanking existing customers. Again, building trust. And anybody who's going to buy this is obviously going to email me because they want to get the best price. Now I have that line of communication open, and it's only for the people that are like very likely to buy. They're asking for the discounted price. And then from here, after the back and forth, I'll just send them an invoice for their custom price, and most of the time they're going to buy it. If you wanted, you could set up reminders for follow-up. Basically just consider like DM selling. You're just going to follow up with people and do that whole system here. But I keep this pretty simple, like spend 10 minutes in the morning just responding to some emails and following up with people that I know I sent invoices to a little bit before. The main thing is, how do we get more people asking us for this custom price? And that comes to just getting more people at the top of the funnel, higher trust, and better content, basically optimizing the funnel to ultimately get to the upsell sequence. What I would suggest for most people is ignore this. Don't do this. Just focus on this here, because this is enough. And if you get this really good, this natural flow from stage 1 to stage 2 is going to happen very easily because they already trust you. They already bought a product. They're ready to go all in. So that's what I would recommend worrying about. Before you worry about an upsell, just focus on getting those initial sales. If you're getting sales automatically, then you know you've got something going. Then you can just create more content to get more leads into the funnel, increasing your total automated sales. Then once you're happy with that, you can worry about an upsell. The cool thing though, you don't have to stress about this, because if you remember, every single lead gets added to our contact list. The contact list is super valuable and worth a lot of money. So you nurture these people. Then whenever you're ready, you can blast the contact list announcing new products, new coaching, new upsells, like whatever it might be. And you can do like 2 big sales a year. Like there's a bunch of different strategies that you can do with this contact list. So just because you don't upsell them immediately does not mean that person is lost. They are now a loyal follower if you do the contact list thing right. So contact for life, money for life, everyone's happy. So I just wanted to close this out again, just saying, I'm not some massive marketing whiz. Like, I'm a software guy. That's my background. I worry about the systems and the infrastructure to make these funnels work. And that's what I'm focusing on with my app, Course Catalyst. So you can implement these funnels very simply within Course Catalyst without having to use like a bunch of different platforms. It's all in there in a single platform, bringing together your sales, your products, and your contacts, which means if you are a marketing whiz, you could optimize this funnel, I'm sure, to make it 1,000 times better. Well, I hope not 1,000 times better. That would be insane. But you could definitely improve the ideas here for your own products to create the ultimate funnel. So if you want to do something like this, I know this was a really long video. That's because I wanted to share a lot of the details and explain my thinking behind how I structured it. I'm not just doing it because like I think through why it's structured that way. If you want to just get a very simple way to start, I will have a link. It's a free course that will show you basically the trust framework, how to build trust with your audience, get them into your contact list, and ultimately sell them a product or get them to book a call with you, all automated, except the occasional email. But again, that's like 5 to 10 minutes a day, and it's going to make you a lot of money. So that's the overview. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, or if there's any other thing you would like me to share with Course Catalyst behind the scenes, or with how I do things with my software engineering content. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Check out the links. Peace.